ورسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول كل بدعة ضلالة.
When a person comes in late, then alhamdulillah, the one who's at the end of the row, that he just moves slightly, moves his shoulders so that he can get past, inshallah. When he gets to the back, then he makes the takbir to enter the prayer to join the imam. If the imam is standing and he joins the imam, then he makes a single takbir. Why? Because that takbir is a takbir that enters him into the prayer. If the imam is in ruku', then he makes two takbirs. The first takbir to enter the prayer, because that's the niyyah, to enter the prayer. What's the second takbir for? To enter the ruku'. Likewise, if he finds the imam in sajda, he makes two takbirs. The first takbir to enter the prayer, the second takbir to enter the sajda. Likewise in tashahhud. So if the imam is in other than the standing position, then he makes two takbirs for obvious reasons. First takbir is a rukn, and likewise the second takbir is regarding how you take it, but nevertheless it is an obligation to enter the second position. If the imam is in ruku', then the correct position of Ahlul Ilm is that if you catch the ruku', you have caught the raka'ah. There is some differing amongst the scholars, but the hadith is what we follow. Prophet ﷺ said, whoever caught the ruku' has caught the raka'ah. So if you caught the ruku', you caught the raka'ah. If you come into the prayer, and as you're making takbir to enter, the imam is lifting from the ruku' and he has come out, and you reach him and he says, Sami Allahu liman hamida, then you have not caught the ruku'. If he is rising and you are entering the ruku', you have not caught the ruku', because it is the ruku' of the imam that is being considered here, not your ruku'. So if you caught the ruku', whose ruku'? The ruku' of the imam. So let's say now you entered the prayer and the imam has prayed, already he has prayed two. So you enter the prayer, Allahu Akbar, the imam is where? He's in tashahhud. So you make the first takbir and you enter the prayer. Then you make the second takbir and you enter, you get down and you are in the tashahhud with him. When the imam makes a takbir to stand up for the third raka'ah, that is your first. You consider that to be your first, not your third. It is his third, but it is not your third, it is your first. So that is your first raka'ah in the correct opinion of the scholars. Then when he makes his fourth raka'ah, that is your second raka'ah. When the imam makes a taslim at the end of the second tashahhud, then after he has made both the taslim to the right and taslim to the left, even though some of the scholars say a single taslim has exited the prayer. Why? Because you can't exit the prayer with one taslim, and that is reported from the Prophet ﷺ. But let's assume, just for the sake of argument, because that is the position of a group of the scholars, from them, if I recall, Ibn Uthaymeen, that both taslims have to be made before the person makes takbir and he stands up to enter his, what number raka'ah? His third. So that's his third raka'ah. Then he stands up, then he makes the ruku' sajdatain, the two sajdas, then he stands up for his fourth raka'ah. Then he goes down and finishes the prayer as the imam did. That's how he joins the prayer. Now, he could join the prayer in the first raka'ah, second raka'ah, third raka'ah, fourth raka'ah. So any time that he joins, he considers that to be his first. So let's say, for example, that he catches the fourth raka'ah of the imam. That is what raka'ah for him? First. So he stands with the imam, fourth raka'ah. He goes into sajda. The imam now, after the two sajdas, enters into tashahhud. So he follows the imam, because that's what the imam is there for. When the imam makes taslim, he stands up. What's his raka'ah now? Second. When he makes ruku and the two sajdas, he's prayed two raka'ahs. So what does he do? Tashahhud. That's his first tashahhud. Even though he's only just made a tashahhud with the imam, that's his first tashahhud. Then he stands up, makes two other raka'atain, and then he makes the tashahhud to finish the prayer.
What I want to know is that, for example, you come in, you find yourself standing at the back on your own. What should you do?
Right, if you find yourself, the scholars differ with regard to a person if he enters the prayer and he is in the saf, meaning all of the sufuf are filled. So therefore he has nowhere to stand. A group of the scholars says he comes and stands next to the imam. But that position is not correct, because what does this next one who comes in does? He stands next to the Imam as well. Before you know, you have a row next to the Imam. A group of the scholars say that he takes a person from the row in front, taps him and pulls him back. But that is takalluf, and it causes harm to the worshippers. You're making him move and damaging his khushu'. Plus you're leaving a gap in the saf in front. So the correct position, and if I recall that is the position of Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, is that the person makes the saf on his own, and he does not fall into the prohibition where the Prophet ﷺ said there is no prayer for the person who prays on his own, meaning makes a saf on his own, because that hadith refers to the one who abandons the sufuf where there is a gap and he goes and prays at the back thinking that he's following the Imam, or he makes us. For him there is no prayer, as the Prophet ﷺ said. He has not really joined the jama'ah. So therefore, a person, if he comes on his own and he finds all of the rows filled, he makes a row by himself. Why? That is the most correct position, because the next person who comes, what's he going to do? Join him.
That's right.
But if you pull a person back, you've left a gap. So you've made two and there's a gap in front of you. So the next one who comes, he's going to take the gap that was actually someone else's haqq. So therefore the correct position is the saf should be made individually by the person on his own. And that is the correct position of the scholars.